Hey chums, and welcome back to the Kenwood Kids Club, coming to you from Mr. Baker's Cake School. Now, it's very hot today, and I mean it's very hot, so apologies if I look a little bit bedraggled, shall we say, and you probably can hear some noise from my neighbours because all the windows are open, but it's just too hot to have the windows closed, so I do apologise. I think they're building a brick wall, so if you listen carefully you might hear some bricklaying noises. But anyway, today I'm going to be showing you how to make cupcakes again, which you might be thinking that you just showed us how to make cupcakes in your last video 2 weeks ago, and you're not wrong. But today I'm going to be showing you how to make some very special cupcakes, because these cupcakes are free from an ingredient called gluten, which is a protein that usually binds baked goods together, and they're going to be free from dairy, which means they have no products in them that originate from a cow or from milk. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because there are actually some people who can't eat gluten. They have a gluten intolerance or even an allergy. And also there are people who can't eat dairy. So we don't often do free from recipes here in the Kenwood Kids Club, and I thought it was about time that we did. So yes, today I'm going to be showing you how to make gluten and dairy-free cupcakes, which will still taste absolutely delicious, but this way it means that most people can enjoy them. I would just like to say that this recipe does still use eggs, so if you're somebody that can't have eggs and you would like us to feature some egg-free recipes, then do let us know. But as I say, today we're going to be doing gluten-free and dairy-free. Now, I'm going to take you through the ingredients that we're going to be using today, because of course, if we're doing an unusual recipe, we're going to be using some ingredients that you might not be familiar with. So we'll start off with what we're using instead of butter. Now, butter is made from milk, and of course milk is a dairy product. So today we're going to be using stork. Now, stork actually didn't used to be dairy-free. It used to contain buttermilk, but they re-recipeed it a while ago now. I'm not sure exactly when. And so now this product is entirely plant-based, so it means it's suitable for people who can't have dairy. For the sugar, we're just using normal sugar because everyone can have sugar. Eggs we've already talked about, and also our flavouring. We're going to be using some vanilla bean paste, and this is also naturally gluten and dairy-free, so that one's fine. When it comes to the flour, so flour we normally use in our baking recipes here on the channel is self-raising flour. Today we're going to be using gluten-free self-raising flour, and I have one here from a company called Dove's, and it's called Free with an extra E. Now this is gluten-free self-raising flour, and it does contain an ingredient called xanthan gum, which is another type of binding agent. It's not quite as strong as gluten, so actually what we're going to do for today's recipe is add a little bit more xanthan gum, which looks like this. Now you can buy these in most normal supermarkets in the free from aisle, so look out for those. And then when it comes to making our buttercream topping, we're going to be using icing sugar like we always do, but instead of combining it with butter, we're going to be using a plant-based butter, which looks like this, and this is called Flora plant butter. Now, personally, this is kind of my favourite plant-based, non-dairy butter for making buttercream, because I think it gives you the most realistic buttery taste of all the plant-based butters I've tried. So that's why we're using this one, but if you can't get this one, again, another block butter substitute will work just fine. So I'm going to get myself all ready, and then I guess we best get cracking. Okay, so I've measured out all of my ingredients, and don't forget, if you want to bake along with me and make some gluten and dairy-free cupcakes of your own, if you head down to the video description, you'll find the full list of ingredients that you will need, and a link to the Kenwood Kids Club website where you can find the full written out recipe method as well. Now, if it's your first time watching one of our videos, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button before you go today, and why not give this video a thumbs up as well to let me know that you're watching. Now, my gluten and dairy-free cupcake recipe works very similarly to a normal cupcake recipe. So we're going to start by creaming together our butter substitute, so our stork, and our caster sugar. So I'm going to pop both of those in my Kenwood K-Mix, use my favourite creaming beater, and then I'm just going to mix these together until they're really light, pale and smooth. After a couple of minutes, you should end up with a mixture that looks really nice and pale and creamy. And so now we can add our eggs, and I'm using 4 medium eggs today. Now you can either crack those into a separate bowl first, just to make sure you don't get any shell into your cake mix, or of course you can put them straight into the big bowl. So I'm going to do mine into a separate bowl today. There's 2. 3. And there is 4, and we didn't get any shell in. Then what I'm going to do is pop the top back down on the mixer, turn it on a minimum speed, and I'm going to add my eggs 2 at a time. 1, 2. Once they're in there, you can increase the speed a little bit. And you're just looking for those eggs to combine together with the butter and sugar mixture. So that's looking pretty good, so I'm turning it back down to minimum, and we'll go in with the other 2 eggs. Once those are nicely mixed in, we can add in our flour. And we're just going to add a little bit extra of this xanthan gum. I'm going to put in about 1/4 teaspoon, because don't forget the flour I'm using already has xanthan gum in it, so I don't need a huge amount more. So starting on a lower speed, just to make sure the flour doesn't go whoosh all over me. And then when it's starting to mix, we can turn that speed up again. Now, one of the great things about gluten-free flour is because it doesn't have any gluten, there isn't as much risk of overbeating your cake mixture. So normally in my videos when we're making cakes, I'm like, don't do this bit for very long because you could activate the gluten. But there is no gluten, so it's not actually a problem. The last thing that we're going to add in here is our flavouring, and I'm using some vanilla bean paste, although you could use vanilla extract instead if you want. And I'm going to put in a teaspoon. I've got my teaspoon measure. I'm just going to squeeze the paste into the spoon until it's full, and then I can just drop that straight into the mixture. What that's going to do is give me a really lovely flavour, and also all those little vanilla seeds, you'll be able to see them in the mixture too, and it will be delicious. If you want to, and I didn't mention this at the start, but if you want to loosen your mixture a little bit more, you can add in a tablespoon or 2 of a plant-based milk. So here I've got some almond milk, but you could use any plant-based milk. I quite often use soya milk, oat milk, so whichever one you have at home and you prefer. So I'm going to pop in, I think, 2 tablespoons today, but my mixture is already quite loose because it's so warm, so you might find that you don't need any if it's really warm where you are as well. So lid back down one more time, and one final mix. And there we go, that's our mixture made. So I'm going to grab a spatula, scrape off my beater, because there's always some ingredients that get caught on your beater, and just let those fall back into the bowl with everything else. And then I can take the bowl off the mixer and then just use that spatula to whiz around the bowl, make sure everything is nicely mixed and combined, that we've got no lumpy bits or hidden pockets of flour or anything like that. This mixture looks really good. I'm very happy with it. I hope yours does too. And then, just like we do with my everyday cupcake recipe, we're going to transfer this into a muffin tin lined with large cupcake cases. So they look like this. They're just slightly deeper than some of the ones you can buy, so they're probably around about 1.5 inches deep. These are just from the supermarket as well, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding them. And regular viewers will know that my favourite way to put cupcake mix into cupcake cases is using my large ice cream scoop. So you can buy these online, in lots of shops, but what's cool is when you squeeze the handle, there's a little metal thing in here that just helps the mixture fall out. So it hopefully makes things stay nice and neat and tidy. So 1 full scoop straight into that cupcake case. And then we just do that until we filled all of them. If you don't have an ice cream scoop like this, by the way, you can just do this with a couple of normal spoons, like the spoons that you use sweet pudding with. Now you should find this mixture will make 12 large cupcakes with a little bit extra left over as well. So what I tend to do with that is just pop them in some more cases, and I'll put a second tray of muffins, or large cupcakes I should say, into the oven as well. When you've done that, you should end up with something that looks like this, and then they need to go into a preheated oven at 180 degrees C, which is 160 degrees fan or gas Mark 4, for around about 20 to 25 minutes. Now, on a hot day like today, you might find that they'll cook quicker than normal, which is why I've given you such a big kind of time difference there. But what you're looking for is that your cupcakes will have risen to the tops of the cases. They should be golden brown, and when you touch them, they should be springy to the touch. So I'm going to pop these in the oven. And while they're in there, I'm going to have a tidy up, going to get all washed up, and then we can make our buttercream. So I will see you in a second. Okay, so I'm all washed up. I've got my ingredients weighed out, ready to make my buttercream. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is take your Flora plant butter and pop it into the bowl of your mixer. Using the same creaming beater that we used before, we're just going to whip that up until it's really smooth and light and pale. It takes a few minutes, but it's worth it, I promise you. Now, just like regular butter, the plant butter will whip up really nice and smoothly, so it does give you the same sort of basis to start from. And then, just like we do with a regular buttercream, I'm going to add in half of my icing sugar. And I've already sifted that into this bowl, and then I'm going to mix that in. Because it's, oh dear, I made a mess again. Because it's such a warm day, my butter is quite loose and melty, but don't panic, once you've added the other ingredients, it will come back together. So starting on a really low speed, just so that icing sugar doesn't go whoosh everywhere. And then as it starts to mix in, I can increase that speed, and I'm just looking for the icing sugar to have disappeared, so it doesn't need to be mixed for very long. And I mean it, there was no cut there, that was as long as it took. So then I can grab the rest of my icing sugar, pop that in, and then I can also add in my flavouring. Now, just like with the cake, I'm using the vanilla bean paste, and that's just because, again, it's going to give me those lovely flecks of vanilla throughout my mixture. And I'm using 2 teaspoons in this amount of buttercream. If you've only got vanilla extract, 2 teaspoons of that will be fine as well. Don't use vanilla essence though, it's not very nice, and it's not real vanilla. And if you need to, you can add about a tablespoon of your plant-based milk if you need to loosen down your buttercream a bit more. I don't think we're going to need it today. So again, starting on a low speed, and then as that icing sugar starts to combine with the butter, you can increase it until it's just mixed in again. Now, just like when we made a real butter-based buttercream my last episode, it wasn't last week, it was the week before, because last week Lily made those amazing stuffed New York City style cookies, and they looked so yummy. If you haven't watched it yet, do go back and have a look. And then once you've scraped off your beater, just use that spatula to go around the bowl, make sure all of those ingredients are properly mixed in, And then we can set this aside until our cupcakes have finished cooking and have cooled down completely. So after about 25 minutes, this is what my cupcakes are looking like. And hopefully you can see they've got a lovely golden brown colour. And if I pat them on the top, they bounce back. So that's what we mean by springy to the touch. Now I'm going to let these cool in the tin literally for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to transfer them to a cooling rack, and I'm going to let them cool down completely before I try and put my buttercream on them. Now again, because it is such a hot day, I'm probably going to pop my buttercream in the fridge just for a little while, but what you'll need to do is make sure it's back at room temperature before you try and put it on your cupcakes, otherwise it will be super solid and you'll find it really tricky. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll jump ahead to when we're ready to decorate so you can see how to do that final step. I will see you very soon. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours and my cupcakes are nice and cool, which means I'm ready to pipe on my buttercream. Now I say this in every video, if you don't have piping bags and piping tips, don't panic, you can just use a regular knife and just spread some buttercream on top and it will still look and taste absolutely delicious. But if you do have some, we're going to pipe. We know I love to pipe a cupcake. So I put my buttercream in the fridge for a little while just to help it not melt in this heat. And then I've given it another quick whiz round in the food mixer just to make sure it's nice and soft still. And then I've got my piping bag, and in there I've popped my favourite open star tip. And then to fill it up, my favourite way to do it is to just fold over the top, pop it over my hand, and then when I scoop in my buttercream, I can use my thumb to scrape the spatula against. Just going to squeeze out any air bubbles that I can see in that mixture, hopefully. And then we can squeeze it down towards the end. In my video 2 weeks ago, I showed you how to do an ice cream style swirl where you kind of build it up and give that kind of Mr. Whippy effect. So today I'm going to go back to my usual kind of rosette style of piping. If you want to do an ice cream swirl, you can. And again, just check my video from 2 weeks ago, the funfetti cupcakes. Otherwise, feel free to have a go at this one. So on that camera there, hopefully you'll be able to see, I'm going to start in the middle and then just draw a circle around the outside. And it gives you an effect that looks a little bit like a flower. And then I'm just going to do that over and over again until I've done all my cupcakes. You should find that the plant-based butter behaves in exactly the same way as a regular dairy butter. So you end up with some beautiful buttercream swirls that look like that. And because we use that real vanilla bean paste, you can see the little flecks of vanilla seeds throughout the buttercream as well, which makes them look even more tasty. Now, of course, you can just leave them as they are, or if you want to, you can top them with your favorite kind of fruity sauce. You could use your favorite sprinkle mix, or I just like to enjoy them as they are sometimes. So let's peel this open. And hopefully you can see we've still got that lovely spongy texture that you look for in a cupcake. So just because they are gluten and dairy free, they should still be just as good as what we would call a regular cupcake. And they still taste absolutely delicious too. If you fancy having a go at my gluten and dairy-free cupcakes, don't forget you can head down to the video description where you will find the full list of ingredients that you will need. I feel like I've still got buttercream around my mouth. And also in the video description, you'll find a link to the Kenwood Kids Club website, where if you follow that, you'll find the full recipe, including the full written out method as well. While you're there, if you're not already a member of the Kenwood Kids Club, don't forget to get all signed up. Not only will you get your own membership card through the post, with my face on it, but also it means you'll be eligible to enter our Star Baker of the Month competition. Every month, the Kenwood team and I choose one of our favourite pictures that's been uploaded by our bakers at home to be our Star Baker of the Month, and they win their very own Kenwood hand mixer and a Kenwood Kids Club goodie bag as well. In there you'll find all sorts of fun things, including your very own Kenwood Kids Club apron, a spatula, loads of stuff. So yes, once you've had a go at my gluten and dairy-free cupcakes, don't forget to take a photo, upload it to the website, and who knows, we could be announcing you as our Star Baker of the Month for July. Now, as always, if you did enjoy this video, please do remember to give it a thumbs up down below, because that tells YouTube to show it to even more people who might enjoy making this recipe. And if you've got a friend or family member who can't eat gluten or dairy-based baked goods, why not send them a link to this video as well, so that they can have a go at our gluten and dairy-free cupcakes. I'll be back at the same time next week with another bake-along video, but until then, as always, take care and happy baking. Bye everyone.